This is a short presentation just about supersonic phonics at Oatlands Infant School. In this presentation, we're going to cover kind of what is phonics and the basics, the subject knowledge that any parents will need to know, what your children will learn in school, and how you can support your child at home. So what is phonics? Phonics is the method we use to teach children to read and write by the process of matching sounds with written letters. The programme we use follows the Department for Education Letters and Sounds progression, and it's a systematic approach in 5 phased groups. The resource we use to teach this progression is called Supersonic Phonic Friends, which just enhances the experience, adds little characters, little rhymes, things like that to make it much more engaging. So phonics begins literally the moment children are born, when we're teaching them how to listen to noises, how to speak, how to understand words, and that's kind of the start of their phonics journey. As we teach them about songs and rhymes and about the world around them, they're picking up more phonological skills. And when they start with us in reception, we begin with teaching them the general sound discrimination and the phonological awareness, which is sometimes called phase 1. After we've ensured that all children are secure at that level, we then move on to what we call the basics 2, 3 and 4. Then in year 1, they move on to the higher levels, and in year 2, they move on to spelling rules, which match the national curriculum for Key Stage 1. So what we've been doing for the last half term is what we call the firm foundations, and that's that phase 1 of phonics. It covers areas of sound discrimination, so we've been playing instruments, doing body percussion, listening to different sounds in the environment and in the world around us. We've then moved on to phonological awareness, which is lots of aspects of rhythm and rhyme, looking at alliteration and the different sounds our voices can make, before moving on to oral blending and segmenting, so orally putting words together and orally splitting them up. So after we move on from the firm foundations, we move on to teaching what we call the grapheme-phoneme correspondences. So a grapheme is the spelling we see of a sound. Phoneme is the sound it makes. So you can see the graphemes on the screen, and a phoneme in the first word would be ox. So the children learn the actual sounds each written letter makes. So to start off these grapheme-phoneme correspondences, we start with the basics 2, which covers most of what we call the alphabetic sounds, which are made up of single letters at a time. And we teach them in a process of 4 every week, and then we move through in a systematic way. The basics 3 is where we start to look at what we call digraphs and trigraphs. So digraphs contain 2 letters that make one sound, like ch and sh, and trigraphs contain 3 letters that make one sound. As you can see, this continues in the same pattern of 4 sounds a week, all through the basics 3. When we move on to the basics 4, children are learning to read and write words where they have 2 or more consonants together. So for example, float or splash, and those consonant clusters can be particularly difficult to learn because sounds are often lost in the reading and writing process. So we really focus on making sure that all those sounds can be heard while we're teaching that. Into year 1, the children move on to what we call the higher levels, where they're starting what we call the choose to use rules. And these are ones where you have multiple spellings of the same sound, so multiple graphemes for a phoneme. So for example, we have A in rain and A in stay that both make the same sound but are spelt differently. From there we have the switch it Mitch phase, which looks at how we use the same spelling to make different sounds, so how the same grapheme can have different phonemes. So the O in fog makes an O sound, and the O in gold makes an O sound. So alongside each phase, we also teach tricky words, which are words that are very common for the child's reading age, but do not fit into the phonics that we've already taught them. So for example, in 2, the O makes an oo sound, where so far we've learned it can only make an O sound. So here are the tricky words that we learn in the basics 2, and here are some of those from the basics 3. Now, a really good way for children to practice their blending and segmenting is using nonsense words, and these come up throughout our teaching. They're words that are not real words, there are no connotations attached to them, it is purely a chance for children to practice just blending, as there's no context for them to draw on to help them read the word. Now, this is probably the thing that you will see most of our phonics programme. To match every stage of phonics teaching, we have decodable books which children can read every word in to match their current phonics ability. So each week they will be sent home a book that is in line with their secure knowledge. We make sure that we're doing the hard work in school, we're teaching them the sounds they don't know yet, and at home you are purely practicing the ones they are confident with. And quite often parents will come to us and say, but they're really good at reading this, they know every sound, and that's exactly what we want. We want them to enjoy reading at home, we want them to find it easy so that it's just a practice activity, and then we can do all of the teaching in school and you don't have to do that at home. So you will get your phonics decodable reader every week, and you will also get a storybook from our library. So the children are allowed to choose which storybook they would like, and they can pick any from our selection. And what this does is it works alongside the phonics readers that we send you to, as they, in the beginning, are not full stories. It's often a few words per page, just giving the children the opportunity to practice their phonics skills. Whereas we still want to add in that element of a love of reading. We want them to love stories, and we think that by sending home a library book as well that you can share, we are ensuring that that is still happening. These stories in the beginning will be purely for you to read to your child. But as time goes on, they may be able to notice tricky words that they know, or notice a grapheme that they've seen before. But again, the focus is not for them to do the reading, it's for them to be practicing their phonics in their phonics book and enjoying a story with you. There's also a wealth of opportunities for children to practice their phonics skills out and about. It could be as simple as reading the street signs as you drive down the road, noticing the names of characters in their favourite TV show. It could be watching things like alpha blocks on CBeebies, which all build into their phonics knowledge and make the links between reading in the classroom and reading in the world. Now, something that is incredibly important when we teach phonics is that we make sure the sounds are as clear as possible to help with blending. And this can be particularly difficult if it's a long time ago that you learned to read as well. For example, when I was taught phonics, I was taught that it was s, a, t, p. And those sounds had an additional bit on the end. So what we teach now is that it's s instead of s, because children can find it especially difficult to blend if there's an additional sound on the end, and that sound we call schwa. So we try really hard to ensure that when we're reading or we're teaching reading, that children are not using that schwa sound on the end. So it's a really clear s, a, t, p, I, n, m, d, rather than the added s, a, t, p that lots of us have been taught to know. There's a video on the website on our phonics page that also talks about how we make every sound needed in the phonics lessons as a pure sound rather than adding a schwa. So one of the most helpful things about Supersonic Phonic Friends is it gives us these newsletters that we send home every week to show you the learning your child has been taking part in. They cover the sounds that they've learned, any tricky words they've learned, their previously known sounds, and also gives you ideas of words you could check your child's knowledge with, so nonsense words they could read, as well as words that use every sound we've learned that week. These are a great thing to stick on your fridge that you can revert back to and help children to really embed that knowledge. So, what will we do in school? We will teach our child phonics 4 times a week. We will monitor and assess to ensure that we are exactly on top of their secure knowledge, so their books match. We'll keep you informed of everything we're doing. And what we're going to do is hopefully after half term invite you in to watch a phonics lesson so you can see what it looks like in school. We will send home the weekly newsletter so you know exactly what learning's been done. And we can also send you to links of things that you could, websites and apps you could use to support your child's learning. And all we're asking you to do at home is to come to those meetings, check up on how your child's doing, come and watch a phonics lesson if you can, talk to your child about what they've learned in phonics that week. Spend some time playing games and resources. Like I said, we can pinpoint some for you. And if you really want to, you can also download. You can also get access to the Supersonic Phonic Friends website. If you just give them a Google, you'll be able to find it there. So thank you for listening to this information. If there's anything else you need, feel free to ask your class teacher.